Hey friends, I'm Tony.
And I'm Tyson.
And welcome to Two Dudes That Don't Drink, a podcast where we explore the day-to-day struggles and stressors that come with this thing we call life.
We will be aiming to offer our listeners practical tips and advice for navigating today without turning to alcohol.
Each week, we'll be joined by experts, ordinary people who are making it through the daily grind without a drink in hand.
So if you're looking for a supportive community of like-minded individuals, eager to learn and grow together, then saddle up and get ready for a ride with
Two Dudes That Don't Drink.
Well, part of this interview should be me interviewing you guys. I'm really curious.
I love it.
I would love that. Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Totally. I am really curious why you guys are being sober. What motivated you? Everybody has a story.
We gotta.
Well, everybody has a story.
Everybody does have a story.
Nobody decides to be sober for no reason.
Right.
There's always something.
Yes.
So tell me.
Are you ready? We're ready? Yeah.
We're ready. Kick it off. Give us a little intro here.
Hey, everybody! Welcome to Two Dudes That Don't Drink. We got a good one for you today. The man, the myth, the legend, Gary Peterson is with us, and we're really happy to have him here. He has been in a very important piece in the sober community in the surrounding area, and we're just tickled pink that he's here today. So he wants to interview us, which we're ready for, and we're going to interview him, and hopefully we get a good one for you here. So Gary, welcome. Thank you for coming. Appreciate you swinging in. I know we tried to get a hold of you here a couple weeks back, and
yeah, thank you for the short notice come in, because we had somebody lined up and we had to reschedule that one. So we were kind of scrambling last minute, because I know that we want to start getting out some more of these great stories out there. So I reached out, and thankfully you were available tonight. And so thank you again for making it in. And yeah, just like Tony had said, we were going to do the interview, but now you want to do the interview.
Well, I think it's only appropriate.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
That's how I got kind of blindsided about this thing, but I really am curious. I mean, I think it's really great what you guys are doing as far as this sober podcast, and I'm curious why. I mean, I don't know anybody that just decided one day that they were going to quit drinking for no reason at all.
well, that might have been Tyson. I got a little coerced into it, maybe. I had plenty of those times where it was like, shit, I need to quit drinking here. Mm-hmm. And I was to the point where I could take down a handle of Morgan in a night, depending on when I started. I was in a 12-ounce solo cup. I was all the way to the brim with a splash of Coke or Pepsi or whatever it was at the end there. And I had 2 kids, beautiful wife, married, and had still have, yes. And now we have a third too. But there's something about when you go to jail in your hometown, kind of doesn't sit right with me. There's a massive amount of embarrassment that comes, and shame, and you name it.
So you got a DUI?
Nope.
No, you didn't. What did you go to jail for?
I went to jail for domestic violence.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Which is hand in hand with alcohol.
Yeah, I decided to. I thought it was okay to, raise my voice to my wife that night and get physical with her and there, Gary, I'm going to tell you, there was a couple other times in our marriage that things got a little dicey, and it was only a matter of time before she was going to call the cops. And so she called the cops. Cops come. I'm pretty hammered at this point, and take me in. It's a Friday night, so I'm in, and now I'm in all weekend, and I don't get out until Monday.
Real homey in there too.
Oh my God, I fucking hate that place. I absolutely hate that place. So when I was in there, it was like, all right, dude, you're done. Like, you don't get to do this anymore. You don't even get to be moderate drinker guy. You don't get to touch alcohol anymore, because I promised myself that I would leave that guy in cell 34 or whatever the cell was in the BEC County Jail there.
What year was that?
2018, May 18th of 2018. So
I've been going to the jail for 37 years. I do 2 meetings a week. We do them on Wednesday at 1:00, and then we do them at Thursday night. And we try to go to all 3 pods.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always possible, but when you consider that 97% of the people that are in there are alcohol or drug-related offenses,
mm-hmm.
it's really. I go in there and I'll go into a pod and I'll go, what the F's going on here, you guys?
You can swear here if you want.
I can. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
fuck yeah.
I'll go. What the fuck's going on here? 97% of you guys are in your alcohol and drug related offenses, and I got 3 people at the AA meeting. What's up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then some will come, and then things change a little bit, and it gets. And now we've got we probably have 20 to 30 people that are coming to meetings every time we have a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes more, sometimes less.
Right.
Nice.
So, and some of them are coming out, it's not necessarily are they all going to become recovering people when they come out, but a good, there's a bunch of them that do.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some people that work for me that are recovering.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, a bunch of them. Okay, so you didn't think it was a good idea to continue on with your deal?
No, and you know what? I have an amazing life,
Mm-hmm.
and I have what I wanted. Other than the white picket fence in front of my house, I have what I want.
Overrated. The white picket fence is overrated.
I'm gainfully employed. My wife is employed. I have 3 beautiful children. They do whatever they want to do. My wife and I are very happy and very much involved in our kids' lives.
Mm-hmm.
And life is good. And life is good because I am sober and because I am taking the path I am taking. And there's not a day that goes by that every single day I think about drinking, but every single day I battle with myself to make sure I don't drink.
You're kind of unusual, you know that, don't you?
Really?
I mean, because most people that are truly alcoholic, the disease is progressive. It never gets better.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think back to when you first started drinking, you'd have a few drinks, you go out, maybe get in a little trouble, but no big deal. Well, it progressed. It got worse and worse and worse. And that's kind of what happens. And so for you to say, and that's the other thing, I when you were saying that you think about it and battle with it every day, I haven't thought about drinking I really seriously thought about drinking for 30-some years.
Yeah.
I mean, I think God's removed that obsession from me totally.
Sure.
But
how long has it been for you? Since you
41 years.
Nice.
May 20th of 1983.
Oh,
that's the year that we were born.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You don't have to remind me.
Yeah.
I'm 76 years old. I'll be 77 in November. But what's
I got to talk to you about that. Best birthday ever. 11/11.
Yeah,
Veterans
47.
Day.
Yeah.
Same.
How'd
here.
you know that?
I did some research.
I guess.
I did know 41 years too. So
Yeah.
I just want everybody else to know.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing is, what you went through and what you went through, we all went through it.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling my brother about a week before I was going to go into treatment, I was telling him that I was going, and he's laughing, and of course he's just as messed up and fucked up as I am. And I'm snorting up the last of the cocaine I had, and we're drinking and smoking I had some Thai sticks. And I'm planting a garden, and we're laughing. We think life is great. I'm going to treatment, haha. And he's asking me why I'm going, and I'm telling him, all the different things of reasons why I'm going. And he thought that was real funny. But then that night he went home, and he calls me up, and he says, "Hey, can I come and get a couple joints the next morning? I'm going to go to treatment." I said, sure, come on over. You know, I just thought he wanted something to smoke. And he came over, he got a couple joints, went to treatment, and he got there all stoned, but he went. And this is 3 days before I went in. And maybe a couple months after we were both out of treatment, we're talking one day, and I said, what the hell happened to you? He says, well, I had heard you were going to commit me one time, and I thought you were talking about me when you were talking about why you were going to treatment. And rather than having you commit me, I'm going to go to treatment ahead of you. Mm. And so he's actually sober 3 days longer than I am.
Nice.
Nice.
And, you know, it's been really beneficial in regards to supporting each other and being there for each other, doing the different things. He's involved in a lot of service work with AA and veterans, and you know,
yeah,
and he's in recovery.
Yeah, so. I have to give credit to the VA as well. I went up to treatment at the St. Cloud VA. A friend of mine who visited me in jail was like, hey, you might want to do this. And I'm like, I'm on board with whatever I need to do, because I knew there was serious legal implications that I was heading towards. And I'm like, I'm going to do what I need to do to get done with this. Vets court was another big process for me that I took full responsibility of, and did what they needed me to do, or did what I needed to do to get through it. And then also the AA has been a big part. Recently, it's been kind of there's been an absence with meetings, but I am so busy with my kids.
I haven't seen you
at,
and I go to a lot of meetings, and I was going to say, you know, you really want that thing about fighting it every day to go away. Come on to some meetings. Yes. Join us, because I really think that's a big part of, you know, my obsession being gone. I don't think about drinking. I think about killing people and running them over. And, you know, serious. I do too. And I carry, and, you know, I got guns everywhere. I thought about capping somebody at one time or another. Where does this thing go anyway? This podcast, I'll end up in jail.
No, you're fine.
I know. I'm just kidding. I'm not worried about it at all.
No cap.
I have no. You know, that's why when they talk about AA being anonymous, I really, my anonymity is, I don't have any, and I don't really care. Lots of people do. Lots of people do, and that's really the last thing that I think about when. And you know, when I first got sober, I don't know, maybe it was about 4 or 5 years later, and I got really involved. I had a sponsor, and I went to a lot of meetings and hung out with AA people. And I can remember sometimes thinking, what the fuck am I doing with these people? I don't even like these son of a bitches. You know, I'd walk down the hallway at Fifth Avenue and go, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
But, you know, them same people are my best friends today, and they're still friends after 40 years.
Yeah.
And I have some relationships that have been amazing. And, you know, I think it was about, I was sober for 5 or 6 years, and this guy that did interventions at the Navy Hospital in Albert Lea asked me if I'd sit in on an intervention. And I of course I would do that. You know, we did lots of little ones like that. And then he just started asking me to go with him every time we do an intervention. And I maybe did. I maybe was at 50, 60 interventions with him. And then he died. And then people just kept calling me to do them.
Really?
And I was sitting at home thinking about that a little bit. I've probably been, I'm sure I've been involved in over 500 interventions.
No
over
way.
A period of, I mean, it seems like there's a couple a month all the time. And, you know, it's been good for me, because, I mean, there's not a one of those that I go into that I don't sit there and go, wow, I'm grateful that I'm sober and that I have the life I have. Yeah. I have a relationship with my kids.
Yes.
I have relationships with other people. I have some integrity. I get people that actually trust me in my life, which, you know, I was the guy that would, sell you some drugs, steal some from you, and then help you look for it. And, you know, that don't work real good.
Yeah.
Tyson's laughing, but I'm just wondering I want to hear his story too.
So, yeah, my story was I was working in the bar industry. I was downtown here in town, and I was surrounded by alcohol. Literally every day. Nothing was new to me whenever it came to drinking. So I was surrounded, by it. And this being a college town, I don't know if it's more prevalent here than it is, anywhere else, but it's pretty prevalent here.
Mm-hmm.
So being with it, being around it every day, using it as a social lubricant myself. I was never any sort of violent drunk, but I made terrible decisions when I had been drinking. I ended up with a DWI. I had an underage while drinking, 9 years prior to that. And it was a situation that happened with me when I was a manager with one of my employees when I had been drinking, and was manager down there. And then, got drunk one night, after trivia on a Wednesday, and was, just like I said, inappropriate with one of my staff members. And it wasn't the first time, but it ended up being the last time.
Mm-hmm.
And this particular employee said that they were feeling uncomfortable and wanted to talk to, the owner about it, and they did. And that was Wednesday that the incident happened. I basically drank myself, so that I could forget about it on Thursday. Was, really on the fringe of like wanting to drive my car off a bridge, and like seriously contemplating it. Because I had to go to the cities to pick up a friend who was flying in. Anyways, got dismissed from work that Friday. Told my wife about it that Sunday. I kept up a whole charade over the weekend. And then, just knew that I had to have a plan at that point to keep some semblance of my life. My work was my identity. And so I don't have any kids. Me and my wife have been together since 2008, I believe. And she always knew me as, I was always working in the bar. So I was always surrounded by it. And that was basically, I knew things had to change if I wanted to keep my life. I did. So I said, here's the list of things that I'm going to do. And I've already started. I started seeing a counselor, called him. He was, probably one of the first phone calls that I made. Said, shit hit the fan. Like I need to fucking shape up or ship out at this point. And I had already done the half cry of the guy who knew that something needed to change. Maybe even a year before that, something like that.
You knew that about him?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, he told me the previous time that I had gone to see him, he's like, I've been expecting this. And, in my head, I wanted to be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like,
When was that? What was the date of that?
So that was the date that I stopped drinking. That was June 24th of 2021. So
Good for you.
yeah, it's been a journey since then. I was the drinker to cover up my emotions guy. So anything, super high, anything super low, alcohol's involved. And then, like I said, just being in the industry.
You were expected to drink, basically.
Yeah. There's a story that I've told before where a liquor rep would come in on a Tuesday and I would have 2 shots of, samples.
Sure.
And
of course, you had to make sure the quality was good.
Yeah, it's really whiskey, so I got to make sure that it tastes like whiskey.
Yeah,
and so then I would just keep drinking for the rest of the day because it was Tuesday and I already had 2 shots. So what's the point in stopping? I was kind of a all or nothing drinker, and there was definitely no reason to get half drunk. Right? Like I'm not going to have a beer with.
Why would you just have 1 or 2?
Yeah, I'm not going to have, Tony and I have talked about this. We were not beer with dinners types of guy. It was, we would maybe have a beer to get like the pregame started.
To have a beer.
Yeah.
I would always have a few before I went to the dinner.
Yeah.
And then knowing full well they were just going to, if I had to drink like everybody else, it wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
You know, and so I would make sure that I had a few before I went, and then I'd be sitting there with my glass shaking the ice, and everybody else would have this much on the top of their glass.
That was
that
me.
was you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was that. I mean, that was
that's
probably
the only
both of us.
reason you're laughing. You can relate to that.
That's I was a speed drinker, and that was another thing with me too. In being the all or nothing type guy is, I drank a whole liter of Jack Daniels at a friend's wedding. Remember, all or most of it, and didn't even bat an eye at it. Because I was
normal.
Yeah, because I was doing, double or triple cocktails at the same rate that people were drinking one, and so it's like,
I would drink a bottle and go downtown.
Yeah, I wanted to go downtown that night.
And then, you'd find some blow or something else to, help you along with the whole night. And, and in the bar industry, I suspect that there was a lot of that running around down there too.
Yeah, it's not hard to find. I mean, you could throw a rock and hit 5 people that probably had some cocaine in their pocket.
Yeah, that's the way it was when I was using too. And
if you knew where to throw the rock, you could hit 10 people. But
see, this is why I had good friends, because I never touched cocaine.
Yeah.
I've never touched it, and I'd had friends that were like, you know what, Dick Meyer, you don't need any. Well, I was kind of spastic and high energy anyways. So
that's, and I guess I'm glad that fentanyl wasn't around when I was using it. I'm glad that meth really wasn't. I mean, there was speed and different drugs like that, but I did every drug. I mean, every single thing that was out there. My brother got some heroin one time, and he went to Hong Kong, I thought it was, to pick up he was going to get some cocaine, and the guy didn't have any cocaine and gave him heroin. And he got back to Hawaii, and he didn't realize that people were killing for this shit. And he ended up getting in a motorcycle accident, and his whole face is like an antenna. He's all wired together. He wouldn't know it looking at him, but, he's been sober now for the same amount of time as I have. But yeah, it's when they talk about the progression of the disease, I can really relate to that very well. And when I look at how I, started out just drinking and then smoking a little pot and then doing some speed with some pot to regulate, I mean, if I got too high, or then I'd have to do some speed so I could, keep going a little longer, and I could drink a little longer. And I mean, when you put all them together and then you find some cocaine, or you got some, there was all kinds of
whiz bangers, poppers, uppers, downers.
Everything. And these guys in jail today, when I'm in there, I mean, there's a lot of them in there that have OD'd several times, and they've been narconed. And I noticed that one of the things I thought was kind of cool was Brandy at that parade the other day, and I never went to that parade, and as long as I lived
Fun
in
Days
this
parade,
in North Mankato, and I went with a few people, and
hold on, you've never been to the Fun Days parade?
I never went to it in my old. I just didn't. I just didn't want to.
Wow.
I don't know. I had a truck in there, and I gave them a trailer to use so they could decorate it, but they were giving out Narcan. And, a lot of these guys in jail, they've OD'd so many times, and somebody's brought them back. And there's times when they didn't even want the Narcan. They'd fight off the Narcan because they wanted to stay buzzed. And and they'll sit in there at a meeting, and they'll think to themselves, we'll be talking about, and I might notice somebody's kind of distracted a little, and I go, what's going on with you? And he'll look at me and go, well, I'm thinking about using it when I get out of here. So it's, that Narcan or that fentanyl is really, really something. And even heroin was not as bad as that.
Which is crazy because growing up, we always heard the dangers of heroin.
Train spotting.
Yeah. That was a crazy.
And when that heroin came to this town, I had my nose in it for sure. And smoking it and snorting it. And
Are you from Mankato, like originally?
I am. Yeah.
So you were born and raised here?
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
What? So you went to Mankato High?
I went to Loyola.
Oh, you did.
Oh,
Good
Loyola guy.
Catholic boy.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 And
What class?
65.
Okay.
You guys still weren't alive then.
Oh no.
Not
Not
quite
even.
yet.
Not even a glimmer.
I don't know how I got so old all of a sudden, but it's and this year being in the hospital and going through that whole thing with that surgery has been really an interesting thing. I've had to really look at where I was going to go with that, because there were times in the hospital when I started back when COVID first started. I started a Zoom meeting at night, and we'd have 15 or 20 people at the meeting every night. And I did that for 18 months and then went in the hospital. And while I was in the hospital, I was really grateful that was still going. And it's still going today. There's some guys that are running it, and they still have a meeting every night, 8 o'clock.
Nice.
Never fail. So there's people from all over. There's a guy from Japan. There's a guy from California. I mean, they're from all over in that meeting. And, you find a meeting that you like and you keep going to it.
Yeah. I just recently joined a Zoom meeting. That's a group of golf, avid golfers and collectors in the golf industry. And I had actually kind of lost my way, similar to Tony, with some of the AA meetings here in town. And I joined that meeting, and it kind of re-energized my, passion or love for AA and wanting to kind of take the next step. So now I've gotten a sponsor. I have started to attend a few more of the daytime
good
meetings
for you, Tyson.
around here in town. And it's just been one of those things where I felt something like a little bit of emptiness, so to speak, in my recovery. It's like, I don't really think I have a problem with, like seeing alcohol and wanting to drink it, but it's more so that it's just, I needed something to help fulfill.
I don't want to be
recovery.
I don't want to be sober and miserable.
Yeah.
And I've watched a lot of people do that. I only really know one person that over all the years that has been able to stay sober and be not miserable and be somewhat happy, and he doesn't go to meetings. And I question many times really whether he's happy even. Yeah. But he swears up and down, damn right I am, and I'm like, okay, good for you, because I wouldn't want to be miserable no matter whether I was sober or not.
Right.
Yeah.
And, obviously it didn't work for me to be using. So, and that particular guy has been sober now for, I think, 20 years now. But, he had an incident happen to him where somebody really important in his life died. And, it put him in a real tailspin for a little bit. He didn't drink or anything, but it was very difficult for him.
Yeah.
And, that's the one thing I think about AA. When I lose somebody in my brother, my youngest brother, passed away a couple of weeks ago.
Really?
And there were lots of people that, were just supportive of him. And, I was close with him, and things were good with us. I didn't have a problem with him, and I talked to him several times, and he was just rather stubborn. He smoked a lot, had COPD, and still kept smoking and drinking.
Sure.
But he didn't abuse alcohol that I could see really. He had a son that we got into treatment before that, but it's just. That disease of alcoholism, when I look at it, my father died from alcoholism. I mean, he really drank a lot. I mean, he was very successful, but he was the vice president of Buttery's stores, and then he had he got involved with a thing called Sensormatic Electronics, them devices they put on exclusive clothing so you can't steal them.
Mm-hmm.
Him and another guy put that together.
No way.
So, he's very successful, but, like in his bar, after his second heart attack, the doctor told him that, you're going to have to just have 2 drinks a day. And, he got rid of his whole bar. He had a really nice bar in his basement, took all the glasses and stuff, the real small glasses, got rid of them, got big glasses. So now he can still have them 2 drinks. And he died from a massive heart attack.
Oh, man.
And, you just kind of, I didn't see my dad for like, 14 years. Him and my mom got divorced, and I was the oldest of 6 kids. So not seeing him and then hooking back up with him, we would sit at his house. This is before I got sober, and because I didn't get sober till I was 36. And but we would just get hammered at his house.
Oh, yeah.
And he was obnoxious. And I used to look at him and I'd think, what the fuck? I don't want to be out in public with him.
Sure.
But good guy, give you the shirt off his back, but alcoholic. And then, you look at, and I can't tell for sure, but I think there's a few more people in my family that are struck with the disease of alcoholism. And, I would never say that to anybody. And if they hear this podcast, they'll go, who the hell is he
which one is he talking about?
Which one's he talking about?
Meme.
Yeah, we got 6 of us. Which ones?
Yeah.
But, the program has given me a lot of opportunities to learn different ways of dealing with things. I mean, when I got divorced, I was hoping my wife would have an airplane crash and I'd have the kids and maybe a little insurance money. And that's the way my mind went. And my sponsor's like, oh, no, this isn't going to work. And every time I'd think about her, I'd just have this, tightened up and pissed off inside. And he's going, no, you got to be praying for her. And, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? So now I'm like, God help that bitch. She needs some fucking help. And, well, it turned out after a period of time, she had a pilot that she was seeing, and I didn't know that. And I found out from actually another airline stewardess and her flight attendant, and I just didn't think I wanted to be married to somebody else's girlfriend. So I was like, okay, let's get divorced. And but I did start praying for her, and we became very good friends. And she died of cirrhosis, though. And you look at the disease and how that works. I mean, the kids asked me to take her over to Rochester one time, and we're sitting there with this doctor, and they had somehow did a test and knew that she was drinking or something. And she could have gotten a liver on the list. And he's saying to her, if you go to treatment and you get into recovery, you'll have this liver and you could live another 20-some years, 25 years, possibly. And she looks at him and looked at me and she goes, well, can I think about it for a couple of days? Now, this is a situation where she is going to die if she doesn't have it. So you kind of look at the power of this disease. So the fact that you two realize that, maybe we better do something different before things get really bad and I lose everything. Because, it's so similar to the story that I see in the jail all the time people are willing to give up everything good in their life for that one drug.
Yeah.
It's insane. And it isn't. That's the insanity of the disease.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's a lot of people that don't realize it's a disease either. They don't even look at it from that perspective.
I think that there's a lot of people out there that just think that it's just a choice, right? So that, we can just go out and it's
worked real good for you, didn't it, Tyson?
Yeah. And, we talked a little bit about this, the last episode that we did, is that it's chemical dependency for a reason. it's just one of those things, you know, that we can't live without when we are in the middle of that, you know. And one of the things that I've come to realize in sobriety is now people have started to reach out and have said, you know, can you help this person? My dad actually just recently, he wants us to go meet with somebody at a church because his son, he goes, the way my dad explains it, is struck with the disease is what he says. Yeah.
Struck with it.
Struck
Just
with
came
it.
down
Yeah.
from the
He
heavens.
goes, the man's son is struck with the disease and he needs some help. And I said, well, I mean, you can give him my phone number. He goes, well, his father wants you to go over to his house. And I said, well, first of all, how old is this guy? And he goes, well, his father is 75 and the son is 50 something. And I was like, and you want me and Tony to go over there and tell some 50-year-old guy, you know, what to do and how to live?
Possible.
Let's get Gary. Yeah.
Could, yeah.
And
Give us the tips.
well, and I just said, you know, in my opinion, I'll do whatever you can. I said, feel free to give him my number, my name,
Right.
whatever, and he can call me and we can talk. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things where he's got to want to do it.
Do you know what they mean by progressiveness of this disease?
I think I do.
Well,
No. Let me hear it.
Well, this is what I've figured out over a period of years. I've been sober 41 years. If I go out and start drinking, and I've seen it happen to lots of people along the way, within about maybe 2 to 3 months, maybe 6 months at the most, my body and mind will be as if I never quit drinking.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the progressiveness of the disease is. It don't just go away.
Mm-hmm.
You got it. The only thing that you've got right now is a solution for that disease by not drinking. And you both do, by having sponsors and going to AA. And I go to lots of meetings and I love being at an AA meeting. The sicker they are, the better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's the same way with interventions. You know, having had the opportunity to do that. And when it gets really, really bad is when I feel really good about going into that situation, because that's when they're they're a little more reasonable and maybe desperate enough to actually listen
Sure.
and think about doing something different. But I mean, think about yourselves. I mean, you didn't do this because you just, I think I'm just going to go join those alcoholics out there at AA.
Yeah.
Look at these crazy weirdos. Let me join. Yeah.
Wonder what they're doing out there. And that's not what happens. You know, you go there because you're desperate and some really crazy shit has happened, and I can't tell you how many people I've thought are suicidal. And I mean, there have been times when somebody would say to me that I was involved with trying to get them into treatment with an intervention or something, and they'll tell me that they were going to just drink themselves to death. And I'll call the police, tell them what they said, and sometimes I've even lied. I hate to say it, but to get them in, you know, they'll take them and put them in detox at least for 3 days to start things off, and then they have a psychological evaluation, or they used to. But it's
When did you start drinking? When was your first drink?
well, yeah. There's a good example of some insanity. I'm 16 years old with a bunch of people from high school. We went out in the country, just got stupid drunk.
Good Loyola kids.
Yeah, of course, Catholics. We were probably praying out there while we're hanging from trees and doing stupid shit, and driving, coming in from out there, throwing cans out the window. We got pulled over by the cops, got in trouble. I got sick, puked, and couldn't wait to do it the next time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's like all of a sudden you get damn good looking, pretty smart, unbeatable as
You're
far
invincible.
as I'm strong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm everything
Mm-hmm.
I could possibly have wanted to be. And, you know, when I was growing up, I can remember in the playground, I can tell you the names of the people, but I'm not going to do it. In the playground where I wanted to be like them. because I never felt quite good enough. But boy, when I drank, I was invincible, like you said, and a whole lot of other good qualities too.
Right.
And women absolutely wanted me all the time, which was it was really important.
Yeah, it
too.
makes you feel good.
Yeah, because I never, when I was growing up, I never felt like that was the deal. I didn't feel like I quite measured up, and I wanted to be like all these other guys. And to this day, I had a teacher. I'm not going to say his name either. That's moved. We were friends when we were kids. And when we were growing up, we didn't have a lot, So I was over at his house one time, and they had what I thought was chocolate, and they were feeding it to me just really as much as they could. And it turned out it was X-Lax, so I didn't go to school for about 3 days. But he was at my house the other night. He's a teacher. He was a teacher at West or East, and he retired, and they just moved into an area up by my house, by the golf club up there, and we had the greatest conversation the other night talking about all that, and he actually was. I'm sure that he was probably in one of your teachers. We sat for 4 hours and just talked, and he had there's some kids, the Mundalls in North Mankato. Well, he gave me a book, Free Range Kids, and it's a book that a guy from North Mankato wrote, and I grew up in North Mankato, and it just had so many things that we did when we were in North Mankato growing up, and I was one of those free range kids, and the kids today they don't have what we had.
No.
I mean, my mom would say, be home for supper.
Yeah.
And then be home at a certain time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And boy, if you weren't home, she'd make you go get your stick off the tree and she'd whip your ass.
Yeah.
And she did, and you were.
I grew up in Madison Lake, so we had the 8 o'clock whistle out there.
Yeah.
So it was be home by the whistle. And then, if you were anywhere, you could get from one side of Madison Lake to the other in
A couple minutes.
Yeah, in 5 minutes on a bike. You pedal your ass off because you don't want to get your ass beat.
We all had bikes too. Everybody had a bike.
That was the way to find out where everybody was back in the day.
We just came home at dark in Mankato.
Yeah.
It was just
Well, I grew up on Center Street over there, right by the skating rink, and there was a ballpark there called Tanley Field at one time.
Yep.
And I could look out my upstairs window and watch the games. And I'd go over there the following day and pick up bottles and take them down to this little store called Zawinski's, I think it was called. And I'd get like a nickel a bottle, and I'd be styling with. I'd have enough money to put gas in my little scooter that I made with a 2-horse engine on it. And, just...
Life doesn't get much better than that.
No, and
I
it
know.
really was good. And you didn't have to worry about somebody kidnapping you or sexually assaulting you.
Yeah.
Or, kids would go out and you'd be home for supper. And if you didn't, you got your ass kicked. And that's the way it was.
right.
Yeah.
And it was...
Yeah, you can't punish, like, I have a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And our punishment is we take away their technology now, take away their phone.
Yeah.
And then we say, get out of the house. And it's like, well, they're going to go have fun. They're still going to go have fun, find friends and play outside. And it's like, I just grounded you, but you can't be inside.
It's difficult,
so
isn't it?
hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard. And they're still having fun, but I'd rather them be outside anyways, and rather them enjoy their time outside messing around
And
with
it
whatever.
kicks their ass when you take their technology
Oh,
away.
I
I mean, it's just
big time.
the way it is. I don't like it when mine's not working. So, and I was actually, I happened to look at my iPad, and it said that last week I had used it about 3 hours and 40 some minutes totally. Well, that's not bad, I thought. That's pretty decent, but I mean, when you were growing up, it was never and I got all the technology in the world that I need.
Right.
I know that you had talked about, you told your brother what your reasons were for stopping drinking. What were those, if you don't mind sharing with us?
Like doing stupid things, like what you talked about, what you went through. I can't tell you how many, or waking up. I mean, I know of 2 instances, and there were more, where I'd wake up in a place and not know where, be laying in a hallway in a house and not even know where the hell it was, walk down the stairs, people in the living room say hi and walk out. And my vehicle's crossways in a driveway across the street, and I can't find my keys because I placed them on their grass about 100 yards from, no, about 20 feet from my vehicle. I don't know. It's just that kind of stuff. And it happened quite a few times when you start to see yourself blacking out and doing dumb shit.
Yeah.
Or coming home and waking up and at 11 o'clock in the morning and looking outside, and my truck had a dent in it just perfectly like this. And I'm like, what the fuck? Somebody hit my car, my vehicle. So I call the cops. Now, after I call the cops, I remember that I had backed into coming out of the hit one of them concrete things from that hotel. And I mean, a perfectly nice dent. Now I got to lie to the cops. It's just, and the dishonesty that goes on with using, were you messing around with that woman? No. Did you do this? No. I mean, things that I wasn't very proud of what I did, and your integrity level is at 0 or minus, and when I mentioned that about selling, I sold somebody a couple ounces of cocaine, and I stole one back from him. He's a good friend of mine, really good friend. He's one of the guys that I got drunk with the first time I ever got drunk in high school. And then spent half a day helping him look for it. We never found that damn thing. Never found it. And, it was after I got sober, I had to make them amends and take care of that. And, when I made that amends to him, he couldn't believe that I would do such a thing to him.
Huh.
But, I was involved in a lot of that. And I think what motivated me to take a look at I know I was involved in some things, illegal things that I shouldn't have been involved in. And one day I had moved out to my house that I'm in right now. And at that time, there were no other houses around there. I was the only house there. There was a gravel road that went right to the house. And I'm out there and I'm laying in the house there, and I had mixed a drink, and I had put Lindsay to bed, and Elizabeth wasn't born yet. And I see these guys pull up in a car, and they look like Jehovah Witnesses, and I'm thinking, I'll run these guys off real quick. And they come to my door, and this guy, the guy's name was Tom Anderson. He had a badge, a gold badge. He was with the criminal division of the IRS, and the other guy was with the FBI in Rochester. And I'm like, what's I invited them in, and I drank about they didn't want to drink with me, but I drank about a half a bottle of whiskey while they was there because I was scared shitless.
Yeah.
And I think the next day was when I went and talked to an attorney, and he told me that I had to tell him the truth or he wasn't even going to talk to me. And I was like, shit, I'm in trouble, because I didn't want to lose my kids. I didn't want to not be able to be there for my daughter. And I think Tord was pregnant at that time. So it was like, this would not be a good scenario that I go away to prison. That's when I went to see another guy and talk to him about going to treatment. And then I ended up going to Hazleton a few days later. And I thought when they were driving me up there, I'm thinking, how does your life get any worse? I mean, my life has deteriorated to the point where I'm going to rehab. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And yet it turned out to be the very best thing that ever happened to me, which in fact tells me I don't always know what's good for me and what isn't. Because, there have been a lot of things that have happened to me along the way that I've thought, oh, God, this is the most terrible thing that could possibly happen. And then, by going on and being trusting God, number one, and doing the best that I could with them situations, they turned out way better than I ever thought they would. And that's been lots of situations. And I've been blessed with all kinds of things, along the way. And it's all, you said it when we first started talking, that, your life has gotten very good because of being sober. Mm-hmm. And that I totally agree with you. I see lots of people that have amazing lives, but when you're drunk all the time or loaded, or you have no integrity, you have no spirituality.
You're in a state of mind, but you're just not in a state. Like you're not there.
Zombie.
Yeah.
Lights are on, but nobody's home.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And, you guys have experienced the same thing. And I that's why I was really interested in seeing what motivated you guys to do this, because I had not heard about two sober guys interviewing for the podcast until I got that message from you. Mm. And then
you make it sound really easy. Was it easy when you went to treatment and ended up getting sober? What was that first month like?
Did you do, how many days were you in Hazelden?
Honey, I'm in the middle of making a podcast right now. Two sober guys.
Two dudes that don't drink.
Two dudes that don't drink. Okay, bye, hon. Say that again. You asked me.
How hard was that first month?
Think about this. Think about this. Being a good alcoholic. If it was that easy, I'd just go get drunk again and get sober again. That's not what it is. It's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, there were so many times when I drive by, there was a place called Red's Liquor on North Riverfront. Long time ago, quite a while ago. It's where that liquor store is right now, right by Northtown Auto.
Riverfront Liquor?
Yeah. But it used to be called Red's Liquor. And he had a sign out there with a little frosty beer. Miller High Life. I never drank beer anyway. Never. I just didn't do the job.
That was him too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, why would you drink beer when you can have whiskey and tequila? Mm-hmm. Doesn't make sense. Yeah. And so every time I drive by there, and I think to myself, well, how crazy is this? I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about having a drink. This is in the first year of being sober. Thinking about having a drink, and I don't even like beer. And there were just other situations like that where I was going, there's a priest in Mankato, Father Joe Fogel. I don't know if you know him. Him and I used to fish a lot together. Mm-hmm. And we were going fishing one day, and I was just, God, I couldn't get it out of my mind that I wanted to drink. And they always said, in treatment, take care of a part of that you got going on there, the thirst part of it. So I went and bought a 6-pack Coke and drank 5 of them. Well, you got to be a little twisted anyway to drink 5 Cokes in a short period of time. There I was. And I went to a game, a hockey game with a bunch of sober guys that were drinking non-alcoholic beer. And, I had 5 or 6 of them on the way to Minneapolis. Well, you don't drink. It's just them kinds of situations don't happen where you drink 5 or 6 of them just like that.
Right.
And I thought I had a little buzz going too. Non-alcoholic beer. Well, maybe I did. As it turns out, it was 0.05% or some real small percentage. But I never did it again because it just didn't make sense for me to do that. I didn't like beer anyway. What the hell was I doing?
Yeah. Right.
So there were other instances like that. I'd be at get-togethers where people were going in the bathroom and doing cocaine, and I'd be sitting next to them, and I go, "Any good?" Just too good. I got to the point where I would stay out of them situations because they weren't good for me.
Yeah.
All they did was put me in a situation where I was uncomfortable. And before I ever went to treatment, I decided one time I was in a poker game and lost now back in that time, $3,000 was a lot of money.
$3,000 is
Holy
still
cow,
is
yeah.
still-
That's
I was dealing too, so it didn't matter to me that much. But it was a lot of money. I lost it, and I'm thinking I better go to AA. So now I'm going over to the AA club because I know where it's at. And I'm sitting outside kind of watching to see who in the hell's going in there. I'm thinking, now do I go in there or don't I? Well, I ended up going to AA. I went there for like 3 months. I actually went in the meetings, but I was getting stoned and doing other drugs, all kinds of drugs. I just wasn't drinking. And I thought, you're great, man. You're on top of this shit. You don't have to worry about nothing. You're not drinking anymore. Well, when you're doing all the other drugs you're doing, it didn't do me any good. And I went for 3 months, and then I decided that maybe I could try. If I went 3 months, I could probably even have a drink with all this shit that I'm doing. So now I'm back having a couple. And I'd have a couple and go home, and I'm like, man, I'm cool. Yeah. There's I don't have a problem with that. I might have I might be a gambler. I might have this problem. I might have that. Well, obviously I had a lot of problems. I really did. I just didn't know how sick I was.
Sure.
And so that I went back and I started drinking again and just doing everything I always did. And I went for another 8 years before I finally got sober. And it took 2 Jehovah Witnesses coming to my house
with badges
or whatever they were. Yeah, with badges. And I was involved in a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have been. So, living like that, where you're sticking a straw in a bag of cocaine and then you're looking out the windows and opening the blinds and seeing extra cars outside and they're watching you and what are they, the paranoia that goes along and the fear. I don't really live in fear. I don't have any fear. I'm not, when I have a resentment towards somebody, I'm praying for them. I truly am. And I haven't, the angriest I've gotten maybe was when I'm driving somewhere and some asshole sitting at a stop sign and they can go right. And they want to go straight across. Now I know this, but it's still not good enough.
Just burns you up.
Must be some dumb, I'm not going to go there. But
do you pray for that person then?
I have a hard time with that. I must tell you that, Tyson. But, truth be known, I do. I've sat in meetings where I would sit across from somebody at different times. I remember one particular person I sat across from at AA meetings, and I swear to God, that guy didn't like me. Well, it wasn't a guy. It was a woman. She would look at me just badass, and it was just like, before long, I'm really focused on her. I'm not hearing what's going on in the meeting. And then one day we end up in a situation somehow where we're talking, and she never thought about me ever. She didn't give a shit about me. She was glad everybody was at the meeting. She could care less who it was or what was going on. And there I was thinking, she's watching me and she's thinking bad shit about me. Well, that wasn't the case.
I recently saw a social media clip that was something along those same lines, where it was this woman who was just posting things for clout. She's married to a millionaire, and so she trolls a lot of people, and She said, imagine coming to my comments and hating on me, and I literally have no idea you even exist. And for that, some reason that just really resonated with me. It's like, so many people can just hate for no reason or for whatever reason. And it's like, if you just don't let it bother you, then life goes on.
I've come to the conclusion that it's really none of my business what the fuck you think about me.
Yeah.
And if you don't like me, that's not my problem.
That's on you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
And
That's
you know
a great way to think about that.
Well, it makes it really makes it a lot simpler.
All right.
Otherwise, I'm going.
Yeah.
What's going on in that badass head of
I'm
yours?
dealing with that right now.
I see how you're looking at me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me that badass look, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's and that's just another thing that comes from AA. You know, when I'm at them meetings, I tell you, there isn't hardly a meeting that I go to that somebody doesn't say something that connects with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I walk out really, you know, I get to probably do 5 or 6 meetings a week. It's a good thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I find people struggling, I'm saying to them, join us, do what we're doing. Because there's no reason in the world to be miserable and be sober.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you got all the positive things going on in your life because you are sober, and then to be miserable, I'm like, what the fuck? Who wants to do that shit?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
as a well-seasoned veteran of the sober community, and you
make me real nervous when you say that, you know?
Well, you're obviously very knowledgeable, so I want to pick your brain. I am extremely worried about my children growing up and experiencing their own lives with drugs and alcohol. You have how many kids for the audience?
3.
You have 3 kids.
But think about this. What about your example that you're doing right now? And where does God fit into that? I mean, I think some of these things we have to really trust this God that we talk about all the time and really understand that. I mean, it's in the big book, it talks about either God is or God isn't. If God is, what are you worried about? What are you worried about with your kids? I mean, you're an example to them of a sober man and a good husband. Mm-hmm. And your wife is probably the very same. A good mother, a good wife. You know, what better example can you give them?
Right.
I've thought about my kids. I mean, hell, I had to go pick Lindsay up in jail 3 different times at night, 3 a.m.
Beep that out for Lindsay's.
I really never even, I mean, there were a couple of them that I didn't know. Well, here's what happened. I had to go get her one night when her mom was flying. And it turns out her mom had went and got her a couple times, didn't tell me. So I'm down there with the officer, and I'm one of these. I was in that jail down there every Wednesday for a long time.
Meetings.
Yeah. So they all knew me. And the officer's sitting there, and he goes, Lindsay, this is the 3rd time, and she looks over at me, and she just wilted right off the chair damn near. And I'm like, well, 3rd time what, sir? And then it all came out. Well, you know, Lindsay and I have had our battles with that. But, you know, also, I really think that the integrity that you show her by being who you are today and by your work ethics and all the different things that you do. I mean, them things, I've seen them transfer to them. I mean, all 3 daughters are doing really well, and they got things going on in their own lives, and they got, you know, they've struggled just like everybody else, but they're making some good decisions. And you know what? We talk about that shit all the time. We have conversations about, I mean, if somebody's giving somebody the silent treatment in one of the households of my kids, I know about it. And I'm over there, what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah.
and we laugh about it, but and then next thing you know, I'm hearing, well, I'm working on that, Dad. I'm no more silent treatment. I'm working on it. That's Lindsay. She'll be telling me that. And we have good relationships and we're close. I mean, there's not hardly a day that goes by that I don't talk to both of them. And
does Lindsay does she work for you?
Yeah,
Is she still like I did
she
some
owns,
research. She's part owner, right?
She's 30% owner, yeah.
Nice.
And then one of the other, Linda Ellenson, who has worked for me we got her out of Votech about 31 years ago.
Wow.
And she's worked for me ever since. She's just turned 50, I think, something like that. She's got 15% too. And if I went in and when I go, it's not like I'm getting any younger.
Yeah.
But I'm fighting it like a motherfucker.
Well, let's talk about that too. So that was your business is called, it's just Caretakers now?
The Caretakers
Yep.
Inc. Yep.
So it used to be Rug and Carpet
Yep.
Caretakers.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's if you're around town, it's that big
Pink elephant.
Yeah, that big pink elephant with the vacuum.
Yeah.
When did that business start? And was that like, where was that
Well,
in your...
when I was back in the day of dealing drugs, I thought I needed to have some kind of a
It didn't come on paper.
A front.
Yeah.
And one night we were drunker in hell, and there's happened to be this lady by the name of Jane Penny who was going out with my partner at that time, Mark Getlicker, and she was an artist, and she was drawing an elephant. We were talking about what are we going to do for a logo. And so she's like, well, elephants have this thing where they remember shit. So the thing was, she drew a pink elephant sucking farts out of a carpet. And you just spit on me, Tyson. and so that's what our elephant looked like. It was an elephant that had its trunk go down to the carpet, and it was sucking on the carpet. And then our logo said, "Remember the elephant." So that's where we went. And, I had that on
everybody remembers the elephant.
Everybody remembers the elephant. Yeah.
Well, and I had that on a truck, and there was a guy in town here that owned the Comfy Bar at that time. His name was Steve Peterson, and he's now a Jesuit priest. But he owned the Comfy Bar, and he was just as corrupt and crazy as anybody, And he's really an amazing guy. I hadn't seen him for a long time, but anyway, one day I'm driving this truck around with that pink elephant on the side of the camper in the back, and I had somebody in the vehicle with me, and I said, "Look at how these people are looking at this, and I'm telling you, this elephant is amazing." Well, what he had done was Steve Peterson, this Jesuit priest now, had drawn turds coming out of the elephant's ass. I didn't know this. So I go into this house, and I come out of the house later, and I see them turds on the thing, and I'm like, I didn't know who did it, but he told me about it later. But that's that elephant is actually worked pretty good. And then one day we decided we were going to upgrade our business, and really I was serious about doing the business and actually working, and we went online, and they have a thing called logo.com, and you can get artists from all over the world, and you put on what you want. And so now we have an elephant with a paintbrush in one hand and a broom in the other, and jeans, them blue jeans, bib overalls, and, and that's what we ended up coming up with. And we're still out there.
And I mean, plug yourself a little bit. What do you guys do? Obviously, rugs and carpets. But.
Yeah, we do lots of carpet cleaning, water restoration, janitorial, construction cleanup, lots of snow removal. We've got, every time it snows, we've got over 100 people out working. That's all I do really is coordinate that now. And we've got some other things. We're doing garage floors with the new
coating.
the new products, and them things are really a great product. It's actually fun doing them because the people, when they're done, they're like, oh,
Yeah.
It
looks
does make
really
a
nice.
difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going a little further than some of them are as far as how many coats you put on and different things. And so you get a good
So,
product when you're done.
Remind my knuckle, or I'm a knuckle dragger. So the company was started while you were still drinking,
It certainly was. Yeah.
and then it is now obviously still going. Do you believe the company got stronger after you got sober?
Oh God, yeah. Oh, I mean,
Or was it already kind of in motion in wheels beforehand?
No. I mean, I had one or two people. Usually, it was a girlfriend and one guy cleaning carpets. And when I got sober and came out of treatment, I was like, now what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
I've been making money doing other things for so long, and really had no real.
Skills or
the value of money was when you're selling different drugs. I mean, it's not a good, you don't attach much value to money.
Right.
And so now I'm trying to figure out, okay, now I have to live off of this business. So how am I going to do that?
Mm-hmm.
And I started to do a lot of different things. I mean, we do this janitorial is, we've been in and out and doing lots of really good accounts. And, we've got some that we've had for 30 years
Mm-hmm.
wow.
because they like what we're doing. And we pay attention to it. Lindsay does a lot of that. She's follows up and they're in houses cleaning and, just, and the snow removal is, we've got, we've done some things that I think is somewhat innovative when it comes to that with having, we've got repeaters in town where everybody that has any piece of equipment out there working for us has got a radio. So I can coordinate every person that's out there, no matter where they are.
Okay.
If they're in St. Peter, if they're in Lake Crystal, if they're wherever they are, the center, I can talk to them. And it really, it takes a lot of
the guesswork of it.
Well, getting together, running over and talking to this guy in this pickup, getting out of your pickup, going and talking to him. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
You're just saying, okay, we've got everything cut in here. Bring that big loader over here and let's push it to the pile and move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And you save your customers a lot of, I think we're much more
efficient,
way more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
They can't do that unless
Right.
you've got that kind of stuff. And we've taken all of our equipment and really put it in and put some good equipment together.
Yeah.
I mean, the last few years, last year we didn't have any snow.
Yeah.
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 But we have paid for our equipment and we've done all, and that's part of being sober too. You get, financially you get yourself in a decent place. And we don't owe anybody any money.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And we want our employees to do well and to do a good job and,
succeed. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, and I think we have some integrity in the business too, as far as, where you go with stuff.
Right.
I've had guys say, well, wait a minute, I've been watching you out the window. They weren't there for 45 minutes. And then I'll go, oh, wait a minute. And we have an app, that's called Exact Time Mobile.
Yeah.
So if they're at a certain place, they hit this, and then it brings in whichever one. Now, we don't do Madison East anymore, but we used to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still working on Mr. Drummer about that. Him and Mr. Matt Little, them two boys.
Matt was actually just a guest on that other
Strength from
Service podcast. I just
Right.
released that.
Well, this year app, they hit where they're at, and then they put in, let's say they're at Katrina's, and then they put in what piece of equipment, and then take a picture of themselves, and lets me know where they're at.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, and then when they're done, they hit that, and this integrates with our QuickBooks in the office. So we've innovated, over the years. We've done some things that have been really beneficial, not just for it backs up what you're saying as far as how much time you spend at jobs and where you go. And we can see also when I'm driving around, I got a computer with me. I can see where everybody is. I know what we're doing, and I really am out there every time it snows.
Yeah.
You did the truck stop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was out there when the truck stop first opened. I was there for almost 2 years. And
We still do it.
Yep. So there was a time, and it was actually, I want to say days before we actually officially opened. And I think I still have the video of all of your equipment moving through and clearing that whole lot when there was nobody out there. And it looked like, honestly, it looked like aliens, like with just the lights floating across the darkness out there. And it's so cool to watch. And I remember you were pulling up and you were talking with everybody, and I saw that was when you had the black truck, and I saw the pink elephant on the side.
I still have a black truck.
Yeah. I was like, there goes Gary.
Well,
there he goes.
Well, technology
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
The technology is really good, and it makes a lot of difference in just like you said, the efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody says, "Well, you don't need to do this wait till 6 o'clock in the morning to do it," well, okay, and I can look it up and see in a heartbeat how long we were there, what time we were there, or did we get it done on time? Yeah, we did.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things that I think we've gotten somewhat innovative in respect to putting that together, and we're trying to do that with all of our other stuff too, with just different jobs that we're doing, and
yeah, technology.
we're into lawn mowing. We get some lawn mowers. I had to buy one for my place, so we ended up getting.
Might as well put it to work.
We got a few more, and we put them to work. So that kind of stuff. It's anything we can make some money on, and my people like to make money, and they don't mind. They're out there working, and we're paying a decent wage. Some of them are getting.
And are you?
Go ahead.
The employees you hire, you had said you had taken some people who were in recovery and
sure.
some people that may need a job like this to pick them back up and to get them kind of where you're going. Is that something
we hire them?
Prided yourself on over the years?
Yeah. And you know what? A lot of the people that if they're actually in recovery, and it doesn't take a real brain surgeon to figure it out most of the time. If you're around somebody, if they're talking out at the side of their mouth, or they're serious about what they're doing. And, if a guy is really serious about it, and I've gotten guys right out of jail that I know is serious about it, and they're still working for me.
Good.
And, I actually trust, you're going to get burnt once in a while, but that's no matter where you go, no matter what you're doing, there's going to be somebody that's going to play some kind of a game with you and not do what they say they're going to do. But generally speaking, I trust the people that we have, and we got some good employees.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you said that to start out the business, it was like a 1, 2, 3 person operation. How many employees do you have on a regular basis now these days?
Well, in the winter, there's over 100, but in the regular part of the year, probably 30.
That's still awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's I've raised my kids, and there's some people that have worked for me for a long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got a lot of good customers, and I couldn't ask for any more.
Right.
I would never have dreamed that I'd have the life that I have today, but it's all really because of the sobriety part of it.
Correct.
And we've had some big parties out at my house with sober people.
Sure.
And, just volleyball and barbecuing and fires. And I got a big fire pit out there, and I think we're kind of due for another one. And we put a pool in, and, it just, life is, it's not bad.
That's
Yeah, it
actually
isn't.
one of my questions is I know the answer, just like I said, in doing some research and knowing a little bit about you, is do you have any fun as a sober person? Because I feel like a lot of the times people from the outside in, they're like, oh, what am I going to do? I'm not going to be able to
Well, I
go
had
drink
that
anymore.
thought. I definitely had that thought a few times. Am I
Yeah.
going to have any fun? That's one of the things. The more involved you are in this recovery, the more fun you have. I mean, really, these alcoholics are crazy people. I mean, they really are.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting across from a couple crazies right
Yeah,
now.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We are too,
And
for
I'm
sure.
not saying
yeah.
I'm not saying you're alcoholic, but you certainly got some of the characteristics, and we do have fun, and we do a lot of different things. I mean, I bought probably my 12th or 13th motorcycle right before I went to have the surgery, and then I had to sell it because my left leg, I didn't have enough strength in it.
Yeah.
So then I bought a trike, and I've been riding the trike. I'm going to Sturgis at the end of the month, and we're pulling bikes out there with my motorhome, and my daughter is going, and my son-in-law, and a couple other friends. And there's a lot of people out there that I know. I've been out there 35, maybe 37 times.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Riding out and hanging out there, and that rally, you got every
walk of life.
well, that and every vendor of any kind that has anything to do with motorcycles is out there.
Sure.
So I love going around seeing that stuff, and I'm in a position where I can. I really do enjoy. I mean, there's a ride out there, out by Spearfish. They call it Spearfish Canyon. If I could ride that 3 times a week and be just tickled pink.
Yeah.
Every time I'd be out there, I'd see something else. And there's and the people. There's a lot of pretty cool people out there. I go to AA right downtown
I
Sturgis.
was gonna ask, is there a sober
hell,
community out there?
They got a meeting right downtown that's just amazing. You can't even believe what you're going to run into there.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So, and I don't know that. I mean, I've been in Japan and went to meetings. I've been in South Africa. Went there with a bunch of students one time. And I was a student myself. And I'm downtown, and I'm talking to this person I was with, and I said, I need to go to a meeting. And where she's going, well, geez, I don't know where they are and stuff. And then we're talking to a couple guys come up, and we're talking. I had my backpack on, and I had my money and my passport in the back, and you got to really pay attention to that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy was kind of standing behind me, and I thought, this motherfucker's trying to get my money or my passport. And then as we got to talking to him, he said, I told him I was an alcoholic. I wonder if he knew anything about AA. He was a recovering person himself.
Oh, funny.
So I'm at the meeting later that day, and I'm telling them that I thought this guy was trying to rip me off.
Did you make an amends on that one?
Well, I didn't have to because we all laughed about it. But again, you never know. I mean, there's recovering people everywhere. Everywhere. And there's not a place that I've been that I've went to. I mean, I go down to Isla Mujeres a lot. The last couple of years have been a little more difficult, but I did go last year, and I found a guy down there that gave me 200 million stem cells, trying to work my legs and get them better. And I don't know what effect it may or may not have had, but I am making progress. So, and I'm in the gym 3 days a week, and that helps me a lot. I really feel like I'm getting stronger. And I got this young guy there's 2 of them that have been my trainers down there, and they're knowledgeable about it, and so they're helping me.
Good.
And I'm walking up and downstairs. I mean, I first came home, I couldn't walk hardly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd get to the top of the stairs and fall down all the way down. And, when your head's up down by the step and your feet are up above you, you're going, this could be not so good. I mean, my upper body's good, so I was able to control that a little bit, but it's been a journey.
Yeah.
And I'm often, I'm the guy that walks around going, nothing happens by mistake in God's world today. okay, so if I believe that, then I better quit bitching about having this here surgery and being in this condition I'm in. And, when I was in Courage County, we had a meeting. I started a meeting in there, and you have no idea how many alcoholics in there. And then when people come and visit, they'd sit in on the meeting. Mm-hmm. We had 7 people there one day, just, So it's recovery is everywhere. And there's a lot of people that want it but don't know where to go get it. Mm-hmm. And, right now, you talk about Brandy and her operation. I mean, that's there. There's a lot of times I'm looking for something, a little help getting somebody into treatment or something. I go down there and talk to them, and she's got sober housing, and I just see a lot of things changing in recovery. I mean, I never really cared about the anonymity, but there's a lot of people that do, mm-hmm. and those that do, fine, that they can be as anonymous as they want,
right?
But again, I haven't had any anonymity, and it's really never meant that much to me. And if somebody judged me and didn't want to be around me because I was a recovering alcoholic, that's fine.
Right.
That goes back to being on them, right?
Yeah.
It's not my problem. Not my problem.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, we have a meeting, that meeting I was telling you about, Zoom meeting. It's called the Double Dippers, and which means you can talk as many times as you want during the meeting. Because a lot of meetings, they just want to go around one time you can talk.
Sure.
Right.
Well, that thing is still going, after all these months. It's been like 3-4 years, and some of the guys that were at the first meeting are running the meeting now. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the way this whole, when you look at recovery and AA and where it goes, I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, I would go to the college and speak to a health class. There was a guy by the name of John Romas. He was the health director up there at the health classes, and he would have me come up and speak. And, there'd be 150, 200 people there. And I go, anybody in here that doesn't have somebody in their family that's alcoholic? And inevitably there would be maybe one person that would raise their hand. Nobody else would raise their hand because they all had somebody that was alcoholic in their family, or some addiction, food, you name it. There's always something. Right. I don't know. This whole thing has been such a great part of my life, and I see it being really a great part of other people's lives.
Right. Right.
And you know what they say about the more you give it away, the more you get it. Give it away, comes back tenfold. Yeah. I really do see that as being really valid in respect to, at least in my life.
Well, that's part of, why we started this was we would have a conversation, and of course we think that we're the most interesting people on earth.
Well, you are.
So
come on.
We just said, well, why don't we just start talking into microphones about it? And, this has been, I think, a little bit of our way of giving back, is being able to share these stories with people that don't care about the anonymity. I think that there's people out there that they need to know where to go, how to get it, what to do, and just know that it's not this super.
There's not a stigma to this whole thing.
No, right. It's not a super secret society of people that we're hiding behind closed doors. And it's like on Instagram just yesterday, I think it was, kept scrolling and went through 5-6 different recovery accounts. And it's just like all of these people, I think, are just coming to a realization that between alcohol, drugs, gambling, whatever
Sex,
your vice is.
food.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Food. Like who
doesn't have some kind of problem living?
Some sort of vice. Being able to figure out that there's treatment out there and there's ways
solutions
to get through it. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Absolutely.
And I really, if you have, this lady just dropped off 6 books at my house to take to the jail tomorrow. Meditation books. These guys are taking them in their cells. Yeah. And we're saying to them, hey, dude, why don't you just have a meeting in your pod? I mean, you've been in the pod before. You know what that's about. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
Fuck.
Well, yeah, it wasn't the most...
I was in the old jail, so we didn't have pods back then. We just had
I
You had
got
your little
little cell
cell.
blocks.
Yeah.
Well, the point is, you can sit in that pod and have your own meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Takes 2 or 3, 1 or 2 even.
Yeah.
I mean, and what's happening is these guys are getting very close. They're talking to each other a lot, and they're when they want to go punch somebody out, or that jailer's an asshole, or the jailers are amazing people. I don't know how they do their job.
Yeah.
And I was in there. I mean, they let me go anywhere in there, and I can leave too. But there was a time I was in there for a meeting, and we had I was waiting for some people to show up from the pods, and I left the door unlocked. And I'm sitting in there, and all of a sudden I hear yelling outside, and the female jailer had locked one of the jailers in the pod, the male jailer. And 3 guys came out of playing basketball, and they decided they were going to try and take her gun and her keys or her stuff, and get out. And I heard her yelling. They had her down on the ground. I went running out, and one of them saw me coming, and at that time I could still run. And I'm in fairly decent shape. And the guy saw me coming, and he, one of them went and sat down on the floor and put his arms out. Another guy punched him, and he went down. And another guy, the other guy who had her down on the floor, I grabbed him by the neck and just choked him off. And she's like, when she finally got up, she hands me the cuffs, and she goes, "Cuff that son of a bitch." And I got the cuffs, and you know how they do it I think I broke his wrist or something. I didn't, but I didn't do a very good job of cuffing him. We finally got him cuffed, but those guys ended up having, they got sentenced another 2 years for that offense.
Yeah.
So and they've got it all on video, which I just heard this the other day, but it's
This happened recently?
This happened 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. So, but they, I have a good rapport with those guys too.
Right.
And the jailers down there are just amazing, really. Right. They've really facilitated a lot of meetings. And those guys, they're not that they're hardened criminals, they're just addicts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously, when you think about 97% of them are alcohol and drug-related offenses, and they're, all the way from things with families to,
DWI.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
So
one more thing, just quickly, as we're talking about the jails, what do you think is the biggest struggle for people getting out of incarceration? Like, what's the thing that they've got to really concentrate on to work on to be successful once they're
I don't know that they can manage to do it without being involved in some kind of recovery and having support. And a lot of them, some of them will, hell, there's some that'll show up to they've been in there for a year at a time, and they'll show up to every meeting in there. They get out, and 10 days later, they're back in jail. Because they, and I say to these guys, if you walk out of here and you get out, or you go do your time in prison, or you do whatever you do, and you don't deal with the alcoholic in you, you're fucked. Because you're going to be back here.
Right.
And I really do say this all the time. I say, and you don't have to fucking worry, because I'll be here. You can come back and have another meeting here.
Right.
But the thing of it is, why? Deal with the alcoholic. And I'm encouraging them, if they can get into treatment somewhere, go to treatment. I don't care if it's a year-long treatment, because if they come out and they don't deal with their drug of choice or their addiction, they're going to be right back in again.
Right.
And, you guys know how difficult it was for you in the first place. And I know how difficult it was for me.
Right.
So, and it's like this friend of mine, Gary Essie, always says, what would it hurt but to think that everything is going to be just fine? But he always says this too, if it was that easy to get sober, well, I'd go back out and get all fucked up and then do it again.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's not that easy. I don't
Right.
want to have to go through that. And when you go, I know guys that have been sober for a long period of time, and then they'll have one drink. And then what happens is that phenomena of craving comes back. And it comes back with a big old kick-ass motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So wrap it up.
And I'm not wrapping it up.
No,
We can
wrap it
sit
up,
and do this
boys.
for another 4 hours, but
No,
I want to have you back on again. Like
Yeah,
I
I think that
want to have you
there's-
back on, and we got to save some.
I don't know. I don't have much else to say. You've heard everything that I have.
Oh no, I think there's
Okay,
quite a bit
so
more.
if you think that you're out, then I've got to ask you about.
You find that, I'll ask you. I got a question that I ask everybody.
Yeah.
There's a couple questions at the beginning, but I forgot one of them. What was your party song? What was the song that was on at every party? What was the song?
Oh, I didn't have one.
Really?
I didn't really have one. No.
I doubt that.
I really didn't. I
what kind of music did you listen to?
That's a rock. Yeah. Now I listen to all kinds of stuff. I like some hip hop, rap. I like.
I did see some
if-
video of you rapping in the RV.
Oh my God, you did look at that. That Brandy, she's a fucking little shit sometimes.
Maybe I'll link that. I'll link that on
I'm
our.
telling
Yeah,
you,
you
I'm telling
better
you
put
what,
that on.
she set me up on that thing, and we were on our way out to Sturgis actually a couple years ago, and I shouldn't say my language sucks, but you know it's she did that. It's I like a lot of different stuff though. If I could rap, I'd be rapping my ass off, but I can't. I saw this little girl on a video today that was just rapping her ass off, and she was so good, and I thought, God, I wish I could do that.
So one of the things that I wanted to touch on was I reached out to Liz. I guess I call her Elizabeth.
My daughter?
Your
Yeah.
daughter,
Yeah.
yes. So she was a year younger than us
Yeah.
from
Yep.
East.
Yeah.
And we've, I would say we've partied together. I think that there's a couple pictures of us like way back in the day
Well, she's
at
that
TJ
girl.
Finnegan's.
The
for some
girls
reason. I
had some
remember that.
partying time.
Maybe, yeah.
I come up. Her last birthday, they had 12 people in my hot tub. It's not that big of a hot tub. The hot tub's probably about
Just
this
as big as
over
this-
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
and there were
The
12
table.
people in there, and Liz goes, "Dad, come on out and join us." Well, if you're not all fucked up like everybody else is, why would you want to go get involved in that shit? It just wasn't. I said, "That's okay, honey. You guys just go ahead and have fun."
So I asked her to, give me some tidbits about you, and just give me anything really. And so what she reached out and said was, he's been sober for my entire life. So while I know all the stories, I never witnessed him as a drinker. Throughout my upbringing, he was deeply involved in AA, and I practically grew up at the AA club. What truly inspires me is his unwavering passion for helping others. He's transformed his own struggles into powerful lessons that impact those around him. His ability to connect with people is remarkable. He has a unique talent for understanding their pain and offering genuine support. This empathy is what has enabled him to change so many lives. His commitment not only uplifts others, but also reinforces the idea that recovery is possible and that every individual has the potential to overcome their challenges.
Wow, Liz said all that.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's
And
pretty
then
nice.
I asked her
Yeah.
Thanks, Liz.
to see if there was any stories. So she said, ask you about finding a baby on a bench.
Okay. I'm going to, they used to have a treatment center up in the hospital. And I was going to a meeting on a Saturday morning, and there was a little crib sitting in the waiting room, and there was no mother around, and the baby was kind of crying. So I went over and saw the baby. She seemed to be fine. I sat down, and I was waiting for the parents to come.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 20 minutes, half an hour, nobody came. Now I'm holding the baby, and I'm just, and nobody came. Finally, I took the baby to the counter there, and I said, "Hey, I don't know what's going on here, but there's this baby here." And so they took the baby, and it turns out that some mother had just dropped her off and left her.
Mm-hmm.
And the girls wanted me to adopt this baby, but you couldn't do it. It was one of them things. For one thing, I'm a single father,
Yeah.
you know, and secondly, they have to go through the county and there's all kinds of stuff. So we really couldn't do that. But they found a home for her. And it turns out 22 years later, she contacts me.
Wow.
And we had a really long talk, and she was married, had one kid and another on the way, a really neat husband. The adoptive parents were amazing, and what a life. And so I still have a contact with her. But, yeah, that's, if I wasn't going to an AA meeting, I certainly wouldn't have seen that situation come along.
Right.
And the thing of it is there's so many other situations that you get to be involved in, and you really do get to in recovery. I mean, it just happens, and it's not like you're planning on these things. They just happen.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm at a meeting, a Saturday night meeting, a couple weeks ago, and this guy comes up to me and he says, "Hey, you remember me?" Well, 2 months before, I had been involved in an intervention with this whole family. We spent almost the whole Saturday there till he finally decided he was going to go to treatment. And I didn't remember him, but then I remembered a picture that was on the wall down that basement before he started using, because he was using cocaine and pot and alcohol, and he was fucked up all the time. And he wasn't a happy guy, not happy at all. So when I saw him, I didn't recognize him. But I remembered a picture on the wall of this guy that was just happy as hell and smiling, and that's the way this guy looked like. And I said, "You know what?" And then he told me who he was, and then it just clicked, and I'm like, that's what's happened. That's what's happening. And that happens, I mean, and I can't even tell you how many interventions I have been allowed to be a part of, but I was thinking about it today, and I was thinking normally around 400 or something, but it's probably a couple hundred more than that. And it's just, that's a thing that, and the other side of it is you guys and recovering people have a talent, God-given talent to speak to other alcoholics and addicts like nobody else can, because they know, you're not, they're not fooling you. They're not going to blow smoke up your ass and you're going to go, "Oh, you couldn't be an alcoholic or an addict," because that's bullshit. And that's one talent I really believe that people in recovery have to share with other people.
We didn't read a book on how everybody was an alcoholic. Like,
no,
we experienced that.
Right.
Yeah, and nobody sets out to go, "I think I'm going to become an alcoholic." It seems like a really good idea. Nobody ever thinks that. It just happens, and then you find out you've went over the line and you're there.
Right.
And you don't have a whole lot you can do about it besides get into recovery.
Right.
And recovery, I've seen so many families and things change for people over a period of time that have gotten into recovery. They wouldn't have what they have. The things that are going on in their life, the amount of serenity that they get to, when they talk about happy, joyous, and free. Well, I'm free from alcohol and drugs. And I am pretty happy most of the time. And as far as having that joyous approach to life, I really get to do a lot of stuff. And I do a lot of stuff.
Right.
I mean, I love camping and fishing and motorcycles and,
Having fun.
Having fun.
Yeah. And we've, there's some things I can't do right now with my legs the way they are.
Right.
But you know what? I'm figuring it out. I'm just doing the best I can. And, if I can make them better, believe me, they'll be better. I actually think at some point I'm going to be able to run down my road again. I thought I might be able to do it last year, but that's not happening. But I'm walking. and I for a long time I was walking with 2 sticks, and I'm not using them that much anymore. Trying to walk straighter. I'm building my legs up with being at the gym.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do I know about what's good for me and what ain't?
Right.
Second to last question that I have is I'm supposed to ask you about breaking into Brandy's bedroom when she wouldn't answer your phone calls.
It's a lie.
That's what she said you would say.
It's a lie. It's a fucking lie. Brandy, get a life. Really. Here's the thing. Brandy when she was working for me, I'm not even going to tell you why she was working for me, but she was working for me, and she was running the shovelers and did an amazing job. She'd have all kinds of people in recovery out there shoveling, and they get paid pretty good for doing it, and it worked out good. But she has I think it's a bad dream she had. Really, seriously, she has this dream that I went down to her house, went in through the front door, went up to her bedroom, and pulled her out of bed when she was sleeping naked. It's bullshit. It's total bullshit. I mean, I just wouldn't do that for one thing. And you know what? She was at my house with her. She's got a new boyfriend that she really likes a lot. And they seem to do really well. And he's a successful guy. She's successful. They're working out good. She had her nieces there, and her mom came over, and we had a barbecue. But she... what did I start to tell you about?
The bad dream.
Oh yeah. She was trying to lay that shit on me, and
it was with her. She was with her boyfriend, or
no? No. She could have said that to you. Yeah. See how these stories go?
Yeah, telephone.
She's truly an addict. Let me tell you. I'm serious. I would normally say that about anybody because I don't want to be judgmental or anything, but that girl's got it. Yeah, she's in the right job, that's for sure. And she works, she's doing well too. She's really been successful at what she's doing. But she definitely has some illusions about things that have went on in the past. And you could ask her, there'd be all kinds of stories she'd have, and they're just bullshit.
Well, when we have her on, we'll see if she'll tell us some more stories.
That's the other thing, I think she was afraid to come on tonight because she knew I would have to refute some of the stuff she was saying. And she'd try to lay that shit on you guys, and you'd probably believe her and go, poor Brandy. And I'd be going, wait a minute, guys. It's just not true.
No.
Okay. So there you go. Let's end it with, it's just not true.
All right. She'll have her episode, and then you'll have to come back to rebut her rebuts.
Exactly.
And if I have to do that, you can count on me, guys.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. The last thing that I wanted to do is, this is something that I think is going to be my new last question. Is if you had to give your podcast episode a title, what do you think your title should be? What sort of, what's your bullet points? What's the recovery journey for Gary look like?
Life, living again. I mean, living as an alcoholic and an addict, it's a miserable existence. It really is. There's nothing positive about it, and it gets worse. And it doesn't matter what you try to do. You're screwed. Mm-hmm. Short of, you got cancer, you go to the hospital, and you probably die. With this, you can live, and there's a solution. And, I mean, it's the only disease that I know that totally you can recover.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you can choose to die. And I've often thought, when you think about somebody saying to you, you can have a liver, or but you got to quit drinking. And they go, well, let me think about it. What's to think about? You want to live or you want to die?
Right.
And it's that way with, fentanyl addicts, same thing. They almost welcome the dying sometimes.
Right.
And I'm like, why?
Right.
So I say it's just living.
I like it.
I love it.
Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there. We're going to end it there.
About
We definitely appreciate you being on, Gary, and we're very, very grateful
Thank you.
to know you and to be a part of your recovery community. And
I like what you guys are doing too.
Thanks.
I really do. And sharing your experience, strength, and hope too is important.
yeah, well, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we have to say thank you to our listeners for listening to us here at the Nielsen Blacktop Studios.
Yes.
As
Is
well.
that what this is?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love them guys.
Oh, they're
Yes.
Trent Nielsen's
Trent's-
a good friend of mine.
He's
Nice.
a great guy.
Trent is actually somebody that we're looking to have on because Trent is also sober.
He is?
Trent
Yes.
is a few
Oh.
months sober, few months before me.
I took him to treatment.
Oh,
We'll let
There
him
you go.
tell that story.
He's a great guy. Have him tell you the story. He's a good friend and a great guy.
Yeah,
So-
we also have to give a big shout out to Rooms and Rest for hooking us up with the furniture we're sitting on and using today.
Them guys, they're good guys too.
They're
I
very
work
much
out
so.
with those guys every morning.
Yeah.
Tommy Sheeman and
Sheeman,
yeah.
Yep. So they've been very gracious and generous to us as well. Obviously with Strength of Service as well too. So appreciate everything again. Tyson, thanks for being here.
yeah. Thank you too. Thank you everybody for listening, and
We'll see you next time.
see you next time. Hey, Katie, this is Tyson giving you a shout out on the podcast because I said I would and you didn't believe me.